Hello and welcome to another episode of Fear Street. I'm your host, Jackula, bringing you the scariest stories from all around YouTube. I've been getting a lot of comments lately about how lucky I am to be a vampire. Everyone seems to think it's so easy being a vampire, but let me tell you, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I mean, sure, you get to live forever and have superpowers, but do you have any idea how hard it is to talk with fangs? Or have people run away screaming the moment you open your mouth? How about sunlight? I can't even go to the bank before they close. And garlic? I used to love garlic before I was turned. And now, I can't even... Just forget it. Anyways, back to tonight's story. Everyone knows there's a spirit world not so far from this world, and most of us hope to keep it that way. However, sometimes those two worlds collide. Usually it's harmless. Someone sees a ghost or a flying saucer. However, in other cases, as you'll see, the results can be catastrophic. So stick around, lock the doors, and turn out the lights. You're about to enter Fear Street, where nightmares come alive. I've never been much of a winter person. In fact, I've pretty much hated winter for as long as I can remember. While most people were enjoying fall weather, I'd be filled with anxiety, dreading the impending season change. It wasn't just the cold weather, it was the darkness. It's so dark in the winter here, and bitterly cold. The sun doesn't rise for what seems like an eternity. I was left to fend for myself in that darkness. It wasn't always this way, you know. Once upon a time, I was just like everyone else. I paid no mind to the darkness. To be so carefree again. That all changed on one fated night. My parents were sleeping, and I was downstairs watching TV. I hadn't realized that the blinds behind me weren't completely drawn, and I felt that feeling. That creepy feeling you get when someone or something's watching you. So I looked back. What I saw terrifies me, even to this day. It was standing there, on all fours, contorted into a sickening position. Its body was facing away from me, but its head was somehow facing me. It was pale, dead-looking, with black eyes. It was as still as a stone, staring right at me. I thought I must have imagined it, so I rubbed my eyes and looked again. It was gone. I was creeped out, but relieved. Whew! What an imagination, I thought, then resumed watching TV. There was a window up high in my living room, above the TV. The kind that you don't put a curtain over. I stared through that window at the black sky, vaguely lit by the crescent moon, trembling a little, I'll admit. At some point I must have dozed off because when I woke up it was still dark out. My body felt heavy and tired. I didn't want to move a muscle, but at the risk of my parents giving me an earful for falling asleep on the couch again, I dragged myself up, at which point my eyes drifted upward to the window. I was thrown into the couch in sheer terror. That thing was watching me again while I slept. For God knows how long. I could feel something grip my throat and squeeze tightly, though there was no one in the living room. I couldn't breathe. It took all of my willpower to pry myself off the couch and stumble over to the stairs. I made my way up, gasping for air, feeling the life leave my body, and to my parents' bedroom. I burst into the door and collapsed onto the floor, waking my parents up in a panic. Everything was getting dark and far away. I could barely hear them, though I knew they were yelling. It was like I was in a tunnel, Then, out of nowhere, I felt the death grip loosen from my neck and the darkness began to drift away. My mom was crying and my dad was on the phone with the cops. They asked me what had happened. I said that I wasn't sure, which was the truth. I described it as best as I could, but I told them that I thought I had seen someone outside, rather than telling them I had seen some sort of monster. When the ambulance got there, I told my parents I was fine and didn't want to go to the hospital, but they insisted. They kept me in that damn place forever, all just so they could tell me I'd had an anxiety attack. They recommended that I see someone, a psychologist, to talk. My parents tried to make me, but I refused. I told them I just wanted to go home and get some sleep. I stayed home from school the next day and laid around, trying to make sense of the night before. I tried to reason that it must have been an animal, but there were no animals around that I could have confused for what I saw. I told myself that maybe my eyes were playing tricks on me and I freaked myself out, hence the panic attack. It could happen, I reasoned, even though I was generally a very strong, sensible person. After about a week, I had convinced myself of my story, and after 2 weeks, I wasn't even scared to watch TV by myself at night anymore. I don't know how long it was after that, but one night after my parents had gone to sleep, I was up late watching TV again. All of a sudden, that feeling of being watched came over me. I looked around furtively at the windows to make sure all the blinds were closed. They were, which calmed me down a bit, but I still couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. My eyes drifted up to the window above the TV, and to my horror, that thing was there again. I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It looked so wrong. No one's body is supposed to twist like that. Looking into its eyes filled me with absolute hopelessness, but I couldn't look away. I couldn't get up. Damn it! I couldn't move. I felt the same icy death grip begin to tighten around my throat again. It was the thing outside. Somehow, it was doing this. Looking in its eyes, I could feel that, and I knew what it wanted. I realized that this was it for me. Then I thought of my parents. They'd be shattered. I had to fight. I tried to scream, but all that came out was a labored whisper. I was getting weak. This was my last shot. I summoned every ounce of my being and managed to scream for help. My parents, who are light sleepers, thank God, came running down the stairs. I watched that thing disappear in an instant, and the breath came back into my body. I was exhausted from fighting to move. My parents asked me what had happened, and when I told them, they told me they were making an appointment for me to see a psychologist first thing in the morning. I reluctantly agreed, though I knew it wouldn't do any good. The psychologist asked me all these ridiculous questions about my feelings, but I humored her for my parents' sake and bided my time. When I got out of there, I called Jamie. Jamie was my best friend, who also happened to be into spirits and spells and that sort of thing. I figured if anyone would know what to do, Jamie would. She gave me this psychic's number and told me to go get a reading. I'll be honest, I had about as much faith in the psychic helping as I did the shrink, but I went anyway, thinking it couldn't hurt anything. The psychic led me through this trippy guided meditation before the reading. Then things got borderline creepy. She went into a trance or something and read my energy, as she put it. She told me that the thing I had been seeing was a demon, and that it had become attached to me somehow. She said that usually there's a barrier between our world and the spirit world, but there are certain events that can temporarily weaken the barrier, which is what must have happened here. I began to panic. How do I stop it? I said. She began convulsing violently. Then her eyes turned completely white and she said,
"You can't,"
before passing out face down. I was so beyond freaked out, all I could do was run away. That was 3 days ago. I've been avoiding the living room at night and sleeping with my parents, but I know I can't do that forever. For now, though, I'm safe. But that thing is out there, and it's coming for me. I can feel it getting closer and closer every day.
Jack to love, Jack to love. I'm about to motherfucking jack you up. Jack to love, Jack to love. I'm about to motherfucking jack you up. Jack to love, Jack to love. I'm about to motherfucking jack you up. Jack to love, Jack to love. I'm about to motherfucking jack you up.